This is the Recruiting Guy Podcast. And now, here's your host, Richard Davenport.
Welcome to this week's podcast. It'll be fairly short and sweet because obviously recruiting's starting to heat up now, but Coach Pittman and Brad Davis, who obviously will be his offensive line coach, are out and about, along with Steve Caldwell. But as of now, we don't know of any other members of his staff, and we don't know if Steve Caldwell is going to be retained. He's just out on the recruiting trail with Coach Pittman. He was with Coach Pittman last night, and I was informed today that he's also out today, which kind of makes me think that there's a possibility he is retained because last night it made sense for him to go visit Jashad Stewart and Cottrell Wallace because he'd been recruiting both of those guys. But today they were seeing Robert Scott, offensive lineman from Conway, and Jacoby Criswell from Morrilton, quarterback. And so it wouldn't make any sense for a defensive end coach / defensive line coach to be recruiting guys like that. So that may give an indication that he may be retained. But anyway, the main focus right now is just try to get the commitments on board, try to get those guys signed during the early signing period, which will be December the 18th through the 20th, and also trying to line up official visits for this weekend. I'm hearing that there's going to be a good amount of kids coming in this weekend. Don't have a firm number just yet, but I think it could be potentially a sizable number. If you're a member of HoagSports.com on the forum, I was told earlier today that a very high-profile prospect is planning to be on campus this weekend. The kid wants it to be kind of on the low, so going to respect his wishes. But I think it's going to be interesting to see what kind of mixture you have. Do you have some commitments coming in this weekend, along with some other guys that are not currently committed? Do you have some guys that are that have been committed that reopen their recruiting come in? Right now, I can't confirm any of those, but we'll see. As far as Jashad Stewart and Cottrell Wallace, they plan to visit January the 17th. 18th, 19th for their official, so they won't be coming in this weekend. Blaine Toll should be getting a visit, I think, tomorrow, and he probably will take his official visit sometime in January because he's going out of town this weekend on Sunday, and I don't think that they'll come in for an official visit. You also have the two guys from Knoxville West High School, Tyrese Edwards and Drew Francis, defensive end and a linebacker. Both of those guys. Drew Francis's dad told me that Coach Pittman was supposed to be maybe coming to see them the next day or two. So those guys are possibilities of maybe coming in this weekend, but we won't know probably until another 24 hours or so. But you got again just these few days leading up to the official visit weekend to go and make some in-home visits and visit schools and try to cover as much territory as you possibly can. And then after this weekend, you just look towards the early signing period, as I said, December the 18th through the 20th. Try to lock in as many guys as you can, and then you turn your complete focus on closing strong for the traditional February signing day, which is the first Wednesday of every February. The dead period starts December the 16th, goes to January the 16th. So in between that time, Coach Pittman will be evaluating prospects for the potentially to visit for the January contact period, where you got January the 17th, 19th, like I mentioned earlier, as far as a visit weekend, then January the 24th, 26th, and January the 31st and February the 2nd. 3 visit weekends that you can have. Now, you can also bring in some kids during the week if you have to. Sometimes that's something you have to do, just from the standpoint that a kid may be locked in for all those, especially when you're getting in late on a kid. The kid may already have his official visits lined up and have all those visit weekends already scheduled, so you may have to bring him in during the week. That's not something that you prefer to do, but it's something that they may have to do. And then, and also during the dead period, Coach Pittman will be evaluating the guys that are currently on campus, trying to keep those guys on board, meeting with those guys and seeing which kids may be looking at the portal and looking to enter the portal. He has the choice to either try to talk them out of it or not talk them out of it. So we'll see probably sometime in January, maybe, or even before then, hear about maybe some of the other guys that may be looking to leave and entering the portal. But again, and then, hey, it goes both ways. Coach Pittman and whatever staff he has will be looking in the portal, looking at guys that could possibly help them and try to get them to visit Arkansas. So there's going to be a lot of activity, especially during the January contact period, those 3 weekends, and even during the weeks where you can have visits. You may have some guys that are coming fresh out of the portal to visit Fayetteville, and then you're going to see new names coming up. It's going to be all kinds of activity, but the main focus right now, leading up to this weekend and the early signing period, December the 18th and 20th, is trying to get the guys that are currently committed locked in and signed. You don't want them to go and sign in February, because that just allows other schools to try to come in and change their minds. You just try to get as many people locked in as possible. Coach Morris, when his first year was the first year of the early signing period, he ended up signing 7 kids during the early signing period. And then I believe it was 17 in the traditional signing period in February. I think he ended up signing. No. It wasn't that many. It was, I think, a total of 10 in the February signing period, and signed a total of 17 that first year. I think Coach Pittman will go beyond that for his first signing class. But again, like I've said many times, about 70% of the talent pool is signed in the early signing period, so a lot less prospects to choose from leading up to the February signing day. Arkansas most likely, unless something unexpected. I won't say unexpected, but the challenges to try to sign a really good class is so great. The odds are against you to be able to do that your first year when you're going up against the early signing period. You're hired late. Everything's going against you. So Arkansas most likely will take somewhat of a hit, not have the type class that they'll have next year when Coach Pittman and his staff have a full year to recruit to Arkansas. And then we'll be able to see what kind of recruiter he'll be as a head coach. He's already considered one of the best assistant coaches in the country as far as recruiting. If he can kind of hold that over to as being as the head coach and being able to have the same kind of results, it's very promising. And I tend to think that they will, just because he'll be able to close on guys, and he'll also be developing relationships with these kids too. But I have no doubt that he's going to hire a staff that is full of recruiters. And like he said at the press conference the other day, he said he learned from Kirby Smart that you have to recruiting's like on steroids. That's something that Coach Kirby Smart did, and showed him that you just got to be constant and constant and constant, which he was when he was at Arkansas. I know that, but probably even more so. So it's going to be interesting next year. I think that's the focus after the signing day in February. How well does he and his staff recruit for the full year? I'm going to say very good, and potentially, a top 15 class. We'll see. But anyway, that's it for this week's podcast. Just tune into hohogsports.com or the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, or you can follow me on AR Recruiting Guy on Twitter. And there's constant updates on recruiting, and where the coaches, Coach Pittman is heading, and maybe we'll see some more coaches added to the staff later this week. He did say that he was maybe hoping to have 5 or 6 added to the staff by the end of the week, but obviously we won't know until then. But anyway, until next week, thanks for listening.